Hello, and welcome to the Quiet and Strong podcast, especially for introverts. I'm your host, David Hall, and the creator of quietandstrong.com. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to understanding the strengths and needs of introverts. Introversion is not something to fix, but to be embraced. Normally, we'll air each episode on Monday. Please be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform. So, introversion comes with many gifts and strengths, but it's still very misunderstood. We're going to do some myth busting today, and I'm going to review 10 of the common myths out there when it comes to introverts and introversion. There's maybe some of these things that you struggle with, and this episode won't be heavy on the strategy. There'll be a little bit, but definitely, you can listen for strategy to understand introversion and embrace and find success, definitely in previous episodes and future episodes. So anyway, today we're going to talk about some common myths. First of all, what is the difference between introversion and extroversion? Like I said, I'm going to reinforce this with some myth busting today. Introverts naturally focus on their inner world of ideas, where extroverts spend more time naturally focusing on their outer world around them. Of course, everybody thinks and everyone pays attention to what's going on around them, but the amount of time spent paying attention internally or externally varies from introvert to extrovert. In fact, the amount of time we spend on inward focus even varies quite a bit from one introvert to the next. As we talk, it's not good or bad to be an introvert or extrovert, but it's important to understand the gifts and needs that come to us all very naturally. So again, to me, that's the big difference, is introverts naturally spend more time in their inner world of ideas. Extroverts spend more time naturally focusing on the world around them. So let's start with number 10 and count our way down. Number 10, there are more extroverts than introverts. Well, actually, it's estimated that 50% of the population are introverts. To many, this comes as a surprise. If it is a surprise, it probably means the person doesn't really understand what introversion is and isn't. So, we need to continue to bust those myths for greater understanding. And number 9, all introverts are alike. So no, not all introverts are alike. Our personalities are multifaceted. For example, as an introvert, I do spend a lot of time thinking, and this leads to great strategy and creativity for me. I'm a big picture person. Another introvert, however, might focus more on the details than the big picture. I may be more of a thinker, approaching life very logically, while a fellow introvert may be more in touch with the feelings of others. I like things to be scheduled and organized. A fellow introvert might be more relaxed and spontaneous. So, what strengths are uniquely yours? Because we're not all alike. So recognize that others, whether introverts or extroverts, have different strengths than you. But one strength's not better than another. Sometimes it is hard to see strengths that are not as outwardly apparent as other gifts. But with some introspection, you can discover those things you're great at and understand how to use those to your advantage. All right, number 8. This is a big one. Introversion means shyness. No, it doesn't. There's a misunderstanding that introversion equals shyness. And that's not the case. An introvert can be shy for sure, but an extrovert can be shy as well. So really, it's a matter of a lack of confidence. And the good news is, you can gain confidence if you are a shy introvert or extrovert. You can gain confidence and overcome shyness. I know definitely I was shy when I was younger, and I've overcome that. But I'm still an introvert, and I'm very proud of that. And that's not going to change for me. I will always be an introvert. but I don't have to be shy. Number 7, introverts don't like people. Also, introversion doesn't mean that you don't like people. We all need connection with others. Introverts do usually prefer a close circle of friends. They want that friend or two they can really share everything with, and they're telling everything to. Whereas extroverts may have many friends and acquaintances. Maybe just think about your own children. Maybe you have an introverted child and an extroverted child, and your introverted child has that best friend they do everything with, and your extroverted child has 50 best friends, and you may not be able to keep track of all their friends. And this leads to the next myth. Number 6, introverts just want to be left alone. It is true, as an introvert, we do need some time alone for many reasons. But we also need and want to spend time with friends and family. Recently, someone said in a meeting in relation to the pandemic that introverts love being alone all of the time. Again, I do know that we value our alone time, but I can't support that statement, all love being left alone. What do you think about that? How did the pandemic impact you? If you were alone more often, did you enjoy that? Or did you miss some of the in person interaction if that impacted you in that way, which it did for most of us? I know in the height of the pandemic, I was feeling quite isolated. I was mostly spending time with my very immediate family, who I love dearly, but I did miss my other family and friends. And I'm starting to see them again a bit, and it feels good. It's good to see people that I haven't seen for a while. Of course, we're going to differ in how much connection we need, but I'm just going to say we all need connection. We all need people. We like people. It's just going to look different. Most introverts need to find the right balance between social time and some alone time. You may have different social needs than your extroverted friend, but you have social needs nonetheless. And just because they're different doesn't mean they're any less important or valuable. Number 5, introverts have nothing to say. Introverts have plenty to say, but we don't speak just for the sake of speaking. We think and then we speak, and we share what we think is important instead of sharing everything. Introverts do prefer deep conversations over small talk. So, as introverts are drawn into their world of ideas, maybe thinking about the mysteries of the universe or how to solve the world's problems, talking about the price of gas may not be that interesting. However, I've learned I can do some small talk when I need to and I want to, and sometimes I actually enjoy it. Ultimately, it is probably needed to get to those conversations that I really want to have. I honestly will avoid some small talk sometimes. And introverts may prefer to communicate in writing rather than speaking. Maybe the introvert wants to take that time to compose a good email and think it through. We are spending a lot of time thinking, and we do have much to say. If you are an introvert, you can do well by preparing in advance as much as possible for meetings, presentations, and conversations. And be sure that your voice is heard and people know what you do have to say, because you have a lot of great ideas and they're very valuable. Number 4, introverts can't be good at certain things. So fill in the blank. I hear things like introverts can't be great leaders or great public speakers. The truth is, introverts can be amazing leaders, amazing public speakers, or amazing at anything they set their mind and talents to. The key is it's not a matter of if an introvert can do something, but it's more about how they will approach that thing in their own introverted way for best success. If I want to be successful, I'm going to approach things as an introvert and not try to do something as my extroverted friend might. For example, I know in preparing for a public speech, I need to do just that. I need to prepare. I need to prepare well ahead of time. Or as a leader, really understand your leadership style, what you need to be successful, the needs of others around you, whether introverted or extroverted, and how to really carve out that time to do some great thinking and strategizing, and how to build relationships in your own way, and many other things. All right, number 3. The main difference between introverts and extroverts is how they get their energy or recharge. So, this myth, I'm just changing a word. So, it is a significant word change. Instead of the main difference is how we recharge, I say it's a big difference. Okay, so I don't think it's the main difference. And I hear so many people say that. I hear and read over and over that an introvert is someone that needs to recharge by spending time alone. I know that recharge is very important. It's very important in considering, how we can be happy and successful. And it's a big piece of the puzzle. But to me, that's not what makes me an introvert. Let me explain that. I'm not an introvert because I need to recharge. I need to recharge because I'm an introvert. So, what's at the heart of introversion to me is that we're deep thinkers. We naturally turn inward to thought more often than not. That's how we naturally process, internally versus externally. So, if the main difference is how you recharge, then what about your gifts as a deep thinker? I think saying it's the main difference discounts what is great about being an introvert. We do need some time alone to recharge, and that is extremely important. We need to honor that need. However, I think it's more important to celebrate our gifts, and I think the main difference is, as I said earlier, that we spend more time inwardly than outwardly. Many strengths and gifts come from that inward time that we spend. All right, number 2, introverts don't like to have fun. So, fun. We all like to have fun. What's fun to you? You know what you think is fun and what you don't. You don't need someone else to define this for you. I'm not saying that we should not try new things and change our comfort zone from time to time, but I'm saying it's silly to let someone else define for you what's fun. And this is individual, as we've said, no two people are alike. As an introvert, I may think something is fun and a fellow introvert may not. I may like going to parties, but not as often as my extroverted friend. I may have another friend who doesn't like to go to parties at all. You know yourself, so don't let others define you. All right, number 1. Introverts are good listeners. Well, not talking doesn't necessarily equal listening. An introvert may be a fabulous listener, but maybe is the key there. While I want to be a good listener, I also want the conversation to go both ways. I don't want to be perceived as a good listener just because the other person is doing all the talking and not pausing to listen themselves. I don't enjoy these types of conversations at all. It can be very frustrating when the other person is not listening and is talking nonstop. A huge difference between introverts and extroverts is that introverts think to speak, extroverts speak to think. You'll hear me say this often. So if I'm in a conversation with someone and they're talking nonstop and not pausing to let me speak, they may think that I'm a great listener. And maybe I am, maybe I'm not, depending on the situation. Just because a person is silent in conversation doesn't mean they are listening. Make sure that you are listening, but also that the conversation is going both ways. So, those are 10 myths that are pretty common out there. We could come up with so many more. Again, if you struggle with any of these type of things, there's much more great information out there in previous podcasts and in other sources. We'll talk about a lot of these things in future podcasts. There's so many good strategies out there to embrace your introversion and find success. Be proud of who you are and the gifts that you offer to the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to further connecting with you. Reach out at david@quietandstrong.com. Check out the website, quietandstrong.com. Comment on social media and send me topics or guests that you would like to see on the show. There's so many great things about being an introvert, and so we need those to be understood. Get to know your introverted strengths and needs and be strong.